Moving on to the highest ranked question, which is actually kind of interesting because I thought the other one would have done it, but let's move on. So Jeff Atwood says, congratulations, you've been chosen to put together and run an RNC boot camp. What's your first lesson to elected officials, and who is on your dream team to help run the boot camp? The first lesson to elected officials is similar to what I just talked about. The first lesson to elected officials is you play nice and you are honorable and decent, and you use the Marquis of Queensberry's rules for boxing with other people that play fair and other people that have a sense of honor. And if it turns out they don't and they're fighting dirty, you then either fight back or you lose. We've told this story 100 times. I'll say it again because it's a great story. There was an incident apparently happened at Guadalcanal. The Marines had not really dealt with the Imperial Japanese at this point, but they was their first real fight with them, and there was a small island offset from the main island of Guadalcanal, and there was a Japanese garrison there. And after a while, they were starving to death, and they ran up a white flag, and so a small boatload of Marines went over there to accept their surrender. And as they got out of the boat and walked towards the white flag, the Japanese revealed a hidden machine gun, opened fire, killed all the Marines, and those of them that had the globe and anchor on their arms had their arms hacked off and put in a pile. And since that point, the Marines never treated the Japanese the same way. They didn't start it, but when the Japanese soldiers were feigning wounded and they'd send a medic over to take care of the Japanese soldier, and he reveals he's got a grenade in there, kills the medic. After a while, you begin to realize, okay, you want to run up the black flag, you run up the black flag. We didn't do it, but you did, and so therefore, there you go. So what I would say to the Republican candidates is, if you do not understand that efforts to be nice to these people are not going to work, then you probably need to get into another line of work. Take the greatest example, honestly, Jeff, is to look at the last election cycle. 4 debates, 3 presidential debates, 1 vice presidential debate. Every single one of them moderated by huge liberals, including outrageous progressives like Candy Crowley, who may have cost Mitt Romney the election. Candy Crowley intervened in a question where Romney had Obama on the ropes because Romney was right. Crowley injected herself in there and basically just rang the bell 2 minutes, a minute and 30 seconds ahead of whatever, in a boxing match, rang the bell 20 seconds before the bell was supposed to ring, and gave Barack Obama time to get back on his feet. And so the question is not why Crowley did that. Everybody knows why Candy Crowley did it. The question is, why did Mitt Romney's team agree to have all 4 moderators be liberals? And I think the reason they did it is because they thought that this would be a way to show the American people how fair and tolerant we are and decent, what swell chaps we are. Well, no, there's no way to do it. And when I started watching this Tea Party movement, and I've gone to but I've gone to certainly scores of Tea Party rallies and movements and meetings and so on, I don't see any racism in the Tea Party. I don't see anybody talking about Barack Obama's problems because he's black. The problems with Barack Obama are because he's red. So when you find out that the Tea Party is going to be criticized from the media and the top down for being racist, when all we talk about is spending and Obamacare, you begin to realize that these people are not interested in fighting fair. And this example from the Texas thing is a prime example of how they can't win on the argument, so they have to gin up something that just didn't exist. So I would say to them, Jeff, I'd say the RNC boot camp is going to be about, you cannot give these people any opportunity to control the battle space. You have to simply fight them on moral terms. We get so wrapped up in policy, we start talking about 30-round magazines. It's not about 30-round magazines. It's about whether or not a school teacher has a right to defend herself. A 90-pound school teacher has a right to defend herself in an alley against 3 200-pound assailants. Yes or no? Or does she have the obligation to be murdered or raped in order to make Dianne Feinstein feel good at a cocktail party in San Francisco? When you start getting down to the issues, when you get down to the philosophical issues, everything's very clear, and we win all the time. But we don't. We just start, you know, getting into all these minutiae and details. So I would tell them in the Republican boot camp, number one, if you don't believe in this philosophy, get out. Number two, the fundamental problem we have, Jeff, is I keep saying, Jeff, excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's Jet. I kept seeing people say Jet, 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 Jet. I'm so sorry, Jet. I don't have my glasses in, and for some reason my eyes are a little soft today. Jet. So many apologies, Jet. The fundamental thing is that you have to understand that we have an enormous disadvantage because the people that go into politics want to be politicians, but the entire theory of our conservative movement is that government's bad. It's hard to find politicians that want to go to Washington and not gain power and make things less and spend less money and reduce their own personal power. It's virtually impossible to find people like that. That's why we have such a problem. Most people who go to Washington, even the Republican Party, are drawn by the same thing that draws Democrats. They want to be able to be big people and hand out money and, and fix things. And many of them have high motives. Many of them on both sides. I just kind of, okay, I understand it, but it's a problem. So I would just be, and I would redo all the branding, as I mentioned in that Ted Cruz speech, which I'll post when I get the official video. I'd get rid of this horrible blocky RNC logo with this second grade looking kind of elephant with this ridiculous little appendage that looks like a trunk, and I would, as I said in the speech, I'd have a close up of this thing with this elephant's the most intelligent large animal in the world. The jackass is the stupidest large animal on the planet, and I would have this thing with just these eyes full of passion and big red, and I'd have this giant elephant head with this trunk and blaring and proud of itself, and it's head down, and it's on fire, and it's got a mission, and the RNC motto ought to be, don't be an ass. That ought to be our motto. Get in the fight like you're proud of it, like you're actually proud of these ideas. Don't be an ass. That should be the Republican motto. So there's a lot of work to do with that, Jet. Sorry, Jet. Try and get it right next time.